Today's episode is sponsored by No Strings Attached e-News, your premier online magazine with interesting and informative articles from lifestyle, entertainment, and news worldwide. Visit the website to find out what's buzzing on nsaen.com. Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Magician Jason Bishop is today's guest. Jason will talk about his life in magic and his experiences performing around the globe. He will also speak about the struggles he had to overcome in order to achieve success.
Master Magician Jason Bishop, welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Appreciate it.
It's great. So great to have you. My wife didn't appreciate this joke, but when we're done, could you make my mother-in-law disappear?
It's the most commonly asked question.
Yeah.
After the magic show, so.
Yeah. Frequently asked questions. You could have that on your website.
Yeah. I should. I might do that. That's a good idea.
I'm telling you, I think that would make people laugh.
That is funny.
Would not be happy. So, you've performed on some of the world's biggest stages, Broadway, Paris. When you look back, what was the turning point that first made you believe that a career in magic was possible?
A career in magic. Wow, that's interesting. That's a good question. It's always been tough, honestly. But a career, I always wanted to, you know what I think, honestly, I'll say this because maybe it'll help somebody. When I was coming up in school, our teachers always said, find something you love doing, with your life as such. And I don't hear that advice given to kids really that much anymore. And there's something good or bad about that advice. So I always kind of wanted to do whatever I wanted to do, whatever it was, be a doctor or be a skateboarder or be go to the military. If I found something interesting to me, I kind of pursued that. And it happened to be magic at one point in my life. And so I just kind of never made a plan B at that point. I went to college for theater, and I learned, about lighting and costuming and makeup and stuff there, and applied that to magic and just went full out in magic. And I was a foster kid, but I had supportive foster parents who allowed me to, I believe I lived rent-free in my early 20s at their house, but only because I had a job and kept, doing gigs and kept pursuing it. So that doesn't quite answer your question, but it's the best answer I could give.
That's fine. We're going to delve a little deeper. Where'd you go to school to study theater?
I went to Kutztown University of Pennsylvania. It was nearby, and I quit after like the first year and went on the road with a show. And then 15, 20 years later, they contacted me and said, hey, we'd like to have you in our Hall of Fame, actually, for performing arts. So I didn't have to graduate to get in the Hall of Fame. So
wow, that's incredible. What a great story. This town is 25 minutes from where I live.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. It's very well known.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to now delve into your childhood. Was magic part of your childhood at all, even card tricks or, the French drop, which hand is the ring in, that kind of thing? Any of that?
The French drop, look at you.
That's the end of my knowledge, by the way.
That's the beginning of most people, so that makes sense. Magic was a part of my childhood. My biological father, I have almost no memories of him, but he died when I was very young, but he did a magic trick, and that always captured my imagination, and I didn't know how it was done as a kid. And I would say now it's pretty simple now that I reconstruct it. And then I saw magicians throughout. And I think it's kind of a curious thing, Mark, is that throughout my childhood, I saw magicians perform, and I always was very attentive to it. Like I was attentive to it on television or live. But I remember seeing a kid who was I don't even remember. Maybe he was 12 and I was 11. And he did a show at this resort I was at or something with my foster parents. And I thought, there's no way I can do magic. I can't pursue this as a career or anything because this kid's my age and he's already figured it out. I'm behind. So it was still years after that before I got, really into magic. But throughout my childhood, it was there. And the Houdini movie with Tony Curtis, and the old movie, I watched that attentively. But I was more almost a fan in a sense, but I didn't think I could really do it for a long time. So
I love when someone so much younger than I am references a movie that I'm very familiar with. What I do remember, I'm sure I have the right movie. I think there was a major scene where he was under ice and trying to get out. I remember that
Yeah.
vividly. And yeah, so you do see it in performances. I remember when I was younger and going to sleepaway camp. And they had, you pick this, you had arts and crafts, you had sports, excuse me. And one of them was magic. And I went and I loved it because a lot of what they did were card tricks. And if you got good at it, I really love doing it. I love the people's reactions. And I also am a great audience for magic. Your shows are, it's not just magic. Your shows are not just for the mixing sleight of hand and grand illusions and comedy, which is very important. But how did you develop this unique style? What do you think sets your performances apart from some other magicians?
Definitely the humor. There's no question about that. Online, we have fantastic TripAdvisor reviews and fantastic Google reviews and Facebook, and people comment on the humor quite a bit. And it's funny because we also do some of the biggest illusions that you'll see in any magic show, and certainly in within the New York area or anything like that. Outside of Las Vegas, it's a pretty big show, frankly. And yet people comment on the humor because I can do a really big illusion and walk through a brick wall or something and still put a joke or two or three in there. And I think that helps like lubricate the show a little bit. Humor, just helps move things along, keep people comfortable and interested and stuff. But it ranges the whole range. We do close-up, very small sleight of hand stuff, and then big illusions, and then we have a little dog in the show, and we do stuff with him, and we work with people from the audience. But the humor is a big thing, and the way of developing it is, who you are on stage is, depending, unless you're an actor, is you, but it's heightened, and so it's you find the jokes that work and what have you, and so over time of just being myself, it developed a style that is pretty unique, frankly, to me, which I'm very happy about, obviously. So
this is Jason Bishop.
Cutting edge illusion, close-up magic, sleight of hand. Get your tickets today for Jason Bishop.
When you watch TV shows, America's Got Talent, things like that, and you see magicians, do magicians always know how or almost how someone did a trick? Can you watch with my eyes, or can you only watch with your eyes?
That's a really good point. I have a friend who maybe 5 years ago, I went to see his show. His name is Brad Ross. He toured with Disney, but he had his own show. And he did all this stuff on stage, and then something happened. And then I turned around, he was standing behind me in the back of the audience. And I remember being completely fooled for it took about maybe 5 or 6 seconds. But in that time, I did not know what the universe was made of. I was like, what just happened here, And then I deconstructed it. And then I was like, oh, he's using this awesome technique that almost nobody uses. And so it took me seconds, So yeah, AGT or any of those things, the Got Talent things, no, 99.9% doesn't fool me. It doesn't fool a lot of other advanced magicians. Certain levels of magicians would be fooled by it. And the other barometer I use, which you'll find interesting, is could you recreate it?
Right.
Not do you know their exact method, but could you do that trick,
Right.
Yeah. One of the only people who fools me consistently is, he's very popular. He's a unique guy. I can't pronounce his name quite right. It's Jason Ledaney, I want to say. He's all over social media. He has some crass humor and stuff, but he does card magic that doesn't make any sense. It just does not make sense. I do not know the first thing about what he is doing. Yeah, he's unbelievable.
I asked that because I do watch, not all the time, but I watch a number of episodes of Penn and Teller Fool Us.
Yeah.
And what I love is not just watching the magic trick. I love, see, when you hear this, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. When they start to tell them that they figured out the trick, it's like their own language. It's definitely English.
Yeah.
But he'll say something and he'll use buzzwords that mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
That probably mean everything to you. And I find, and I have to tell you that, it's not like I Dream of Genie magic. It's a skill, but I have always found it so entertaining. And look, let's talk about entertaining. The New York Times described your work as having real elegance and wit. So how important is precision and artistry like in your craft, and how do you balance that with entertainment and humor?
That's a great point. And a friend of mine who's a genius has a saying about this, but I don't remember it. Mine is something that like it's almost like an actor, but a magician must believe what they're doing at that moment. So if I levitate a person, I believe I am levitating that person. At the exact same time, I am also fully aware of everything, including the mechanisms that allow that woman to levitate. And without getting too much into it,
Right.
if you can lift the weight of a person, that means you are using very dangerous equipment that can kill people, you know? So at the time that we're doing this lyrical, poetic, lovely levitation, you're also, conscious of safety mechanisms and things and where you should stand and shouldn't and how the audience sees it and what have you. So yeah, there's absolutely an artistry and a precision to it. And within those whatever little areas you can find, you can be loose and joke and have fun and smile and whatever you do with the audience while also maintaining those things. It's a massive juggling act that way. Yeah.
So interesting because this to me is parallel to I've had a lot of musicians on the show, well known. I've gotten backstage passes, seen them beforehand, sat and watched the sound check. So if your show, what's your show? An hour and a half?
Right now, this one's 75 minutes, but sometimes an hour and a half. Yeah.
So what is Jason Bishop doing 2 hours before the show starts?
Ooh, 2 hours before. I guess I'm kind of proud of this. With the show that we're currently doing, we have a show called Straight Up Magic. It's at Camelback Resort in the Poconos. And we've installed the show there. So the show lives there on the stage. Get tickets. We have shows every Saturday. And 2 hours before I am setting up, my crew is setting up. That's when they're meant to be there. But I'm always tweaking something. So we have a big whiteboard that is completely filled backstage. And it's like, hey, the music for this one act was a little too loud. Let's listen to that. Hey, this mic mute was whatever, or we need more music or more lights at that point. Let's rewrite those a little bit. Every single show, we are adding little pieces of clay to the sculpture to, put the ear on or whatever, So, yeah, but always preparation. Magicians are always preparing and getting ready, and no one can do it for them. That's one thing that maybe like a good musician, frankly, maybe they don't have someone warm up their guitar or something. Maybe they do, but magicians always have to be present with the show because we're the ones who know how it works, so.
I love the kind of backroom information because most people, and certainly the viewers, would think that you're 3 minutes before the show, you're just in the green room, and that's it. The show starts at 7, you arrived at 6:45, you came out, had your drink of water, and here he is, and they have no clue. Yeah. They can appreciate that all this magic, for lack of a better term, didn't happen automatically, but so much goes into it. And quite honestly, I love the fact that you spoke about the safety factor a little bit earlier in the interview, and how you have to be aware of so many things. So, on my show, many people, see the glory of sold out shows. I always talk about the story behind the glory. So you have sold out shows, TV appearances, but your personal story, Jason, includes resiliency and overcoming challenges. So can you share a time when it seemed that the odds were stacked against you and you pushed through anyway?
Wow, it feels like always. That's a good question. I mean, we had a show in New York City on 42nd Street, and it was the greatest blessing of our lives, and yet, the amount of work was tremendous. It was picking new music and working with new lighting designers, and a lot of work there, and things that you didn't think were going to happen. Just finding insurance was like one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Getting insurance for this show to the tune of millions, and nobody knows how to underwrite a magic show. So that's what it was. So a friend of mine is a good producer for Michael Carbonero's TV show, The Carbonero Effect. And I finally called him and I was like, dude, what insurance do you use? And he gave it to me, and it worked out and stuff. But we had a show. I just had a friend here, and he was at the show where we got off a cruise ship on a Sunday, and our show was on a Monday or Tuesday or something. And our truck that transports the show just started smoking. And we went to a Sears, and they changed all these things out, and it cost like thousands of dollars. And it turns out in the end, they actually didn't do anything, but they delayed all of our time. so we said to the theater, like, we have to rebook, and they go, you can't, and so we just like rented a Ryder truck, put everything in, drove, I don't know, 14 hours there, no sleep, me and my crew, no one got any sleep, set up the show in the morning for a morning educational show for school students. They were literally assembling tricks while they pushed the first one on stage for me to do.
Wow.
I would do like one or two, and they'd assemble the next one and get it out. And then we had to set up for the evening show. And so we still didn't sleep, like 8 hours later for the evening show, and did that. We earned our rest that night, when, we were tired by the end of the night, but it all worked out. And sometimes you have those days, those 24-hour days, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't bore you with that, but.
yes, but you definitely earned your rest that night. You mentioned schools, and in my other lifetime, I taught for over 30 years. So I love hearing that somebody like you went into the schools. So when you go into the schools, what question are you most often asked? What things do young people say to you above and beyond, oh my God, that was awesome?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that I can answer it. They always want to know how tricks are done, and then we always have to tell them we can't, because we do Q&As afterwards, and they're great. And we said we can't tell you how the trick is done. We can't tell you how the trick is done. But I have had some schools where just kid after kid asks a great question, and their minds are going, and I can't think of any of them off the top of my head, but I have sat there in awe of some of the things these kids come up with and ask, and it's really fun, frankly, doing a Q&A with a bunch of school students, So we always have to cut it off. We have to we run out of
Sure,
time.
you could do it for hours. They're probably in wonder.
Yeah.
And so you've performed in more than 40 countries. So what have you learned about connecting with audiences from all different cultures?
Wow. Well, I think that magic is a great way to do it. I think, things without, if you look at your biggest shows in Las Vegas, you've got Cirque, you've got Blue Man Group. I can't remember some of the other ones. They don't talk. There's a reason for that. It's because you have large Chinese audiences, large Japanese audiences, international. And so you want to cross those bounds, and magic can certainly do that. I love the humor, but if audiences don't speak English,
Yes.
that's really tough. It's really tough, because we could do a big levitation, and the lead up to it might be a story or might be a joke, and you don't have a way to cut around that. And sometimes, Mark, backstage, you're utilizing that time to kind of have people set stuff, but magic definitely crosses bounds. Like, you could just take a money trick, a card trick, and you see people light up, anywhere you're at, so.
Jason Bishop has been called the greatest illusionist of his generation. Sleight of hand, close-up magic, exclusive grand illusions. Your entire family will be amazed by the best touring magic show today.
Yeah, it is universal. It's almost like a smile. And I never thought before that some of these shows don't have people speak. And the reason you just mentioned, very interesting. I really hadn't thought of that before. I want to talk about, I guess, what they call a busman's holiday. So here you are, you go to a friend, he has 27 people over there having a party. There's no way you're not being asked to do a trick while you're not being paid to perform.
Yeah.
So A, what do you do? And B, what do you say? And B, what's your go-to trick? Like, okay, leave me alone now, I'm going to have some chicken wings.
I do a trick with money. That's always good. I can turn $1 bill into another. That's always a good, strong trick. I generally don't get a lot of people asking me to do stuff like that. Yeah, they're pretty respectful of it. It's your job. It's like asking a lawyer for law advice at a thing, But honestly, I think I should be a little better at that and be a little more prepared. But I'll be honest with you, there are some magicians who their entire ego is wrapped up in people loving them and them doing a trick for them. For me, this is my life and my job, but I don't fully find my self-worth through having, I don't even like attention at a party. You know what I mean? I don't want that kind of attention. It feels very uncomfortable. And a lot of performers are great on stage and welcoming to people and love people, but off stage, they're very shy and apprehensive. And that's kind of how I am, is a little like, I don't want to, I don't want to be the center of attention at a party, so.
That's incredible, because I think the average person would think that you would welcome it because you all you want is attention
Yeah.
when you're on stage, and then it becomes, all right, now it's some downtime for me. So that's so interesting. So it really is like a separate part of your life, and it should be. And it's great that you can do that. I want to close it out a little bit with, resiliency is a theme that resonates with my listeners and my viewers. So what strategies or mindsets have helped you keep going during your toughest personal or professional setbacks?
I think one of the biggest ones is that there's so many problems, thousands of problems, and thousands of things that bring you down and that you fear. But if you are here right now, you have survived all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a cognitive therapy almost that I created for myself. It may exist somewhere else, but you have survived the worst days of if you're here, you survived them. If you didn't, you didn't. But and you'll probably survive this too, and you might even do better. And on the worst days of my life have always been followed months, years, whatever later by the best days of my life. You know what I mean? So when you're in your darkest moment, think like, hey, I was in a dark moment before, and it was followed by, me meeting this person or getting this contract or a wonderful sunset or whatever it is that, gets you interested. But there are better days usually ahead, I think, for people, and you have to get through it. Life is a struggle, and humans are beasts of burden, right? Like we have to have a challenge. If there's no challenge, life isn't rewarding, and if it's too challenging, it's a little depressing, I think, too. So not to get too dark and deep on you, but it's true.
Oh, we want that. I love that philosophy and that truth. So what would you say to a young person who comes to your show? Because you were that young person and you saw a young person. And imagine you're sitting here now on this interview with me and you said, I can't do what this kid's doing. Look how far advanced he is, and look at where you are now. So what advice would you give someone who said, hey, I don't want this to just be birthday parties or a little conference here and there. I want to do this as a full-fledged career. What advice would you give a young person?
Well, it's funny real quick because a guy just left my house who is a young man now, and he saw me when he was a teenager, and he's like, oh, Jason Bishop, I want to be like that one day. And he's in my house and we're talking, and I am like asking him so much advice because he's done something different than I have that's really important and useful. And I am like feeding off, and he said that to me. He goes like, I would have never imagined at 15 that I would be giving Jason Bishop advice in his house. And I was like, well, life has a lot of surprises, bro.
Yes.
But perseverance, keep learning, like you don't know everything. And that's a Stoic philosophy that is important. It's important to me. Know that you don't know everything. It's not part and parcel to your ego that you're right about everything. Learn to be right about it, learn about it, and keep moving forward. There is, what is it up? The only perfection is progress, like there is no perfection, but if you're progressing, that's the closest thing. Just be a little bit better, and really be truthful about your mistakes and then improve them. Because a lot of us like to cover up our mistakes or hide them, but look at yourself and see where you're wrong, and one piece of advice I got from an agent that was phenomenal. She said, Jason, you don't have to change this about your show, but if 3 people have told you it, it means there's something there worth examining, And so if you've had a few people mention similar things to you, give it a little stock and think about where you could improve whatever it is, personally or professionally, So I hope that answered your question.
Oh, great advice. That's gold for some of the young viewers, for sure. In closing, what is next for Jason Bishop?
Right now, we're still at Camelback, and we are attempting to grow the show. It's a residency. It's it's to December 31st, but we want to be in the area forever. We have a lot of New York guests, who vacation up there and stuff. And it's funny, Mark, you'll find this interesting, is that I even say a joke about this in the show that, in the Poconos, I don't think people expect the quality of show we're doing, like we've been in New York. We're in one of the highest rated shows one of the highest priced shows, in New York. We can go and guest spot in it and stuff, so it's like, are you New York level? It's like, yeah, we are, we just happen to be in the Poconos. You got to be somewhere. So we're going to stay there and continue to market the show and grow it and get more guests. But we're still on cruise ships. We still do theaters. We're still doing television dates on national television. And so it's still all there, and we're still doing everything. It's like you've got to have like your fingers in a lot of different dishes, or whatever the saying is. I don't know.
Finger in every pie.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. I like pie, so that works.
That's all good.
Good.
That's wonderful. Well, listen, it flew by. Such great information. Jason, thank you for joining us today and sharing your personal stories with our audience. I hope our viewers identify with your passion to excel in your chosen field. I love your philosophy and your advice. Wish you tons of luck. Thanks so much for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This was a pleasure, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Mark, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.